The end of the career and the end of the life is when you're dead. I mean, there's no end. There's no end. It's too exciting. Life is too profoundly amazing.
She once said, "I'm the kind of woman who fell in love with love itself." When Diane Keaton left this world, she left behind a legacy stitched with laughter, loneliness, and longing. For decades, she played the woman everyone desired. Quirky, yet elegant, unpredictable, yet tender. But behind that timeless smile, she carried stories of men who changed her, and of choices that shaped her solitude. Before she died, she spoke about 6 men who she could have built a life with, 6 roads not taken. Each name carried a memory of laughter, of heartbreak, of something that could have been love. In this video, we uncover the names of 6 men she could have built a life with, not as gossip, but as the hidden diary of a woman who lived with courage, vulnerability, and grace. Watch until the end, because in number 6, you will find the most unexpected person she talked about. Number 1, Woody Allen. Their story began not on a movie set, but on a Broadway stage. It was 1969 when a young, wide-eyed Diane Keaton debuted in Play It Again, Sam, a romantic comedy written by and starring a man whose awkward genius both intrigued and unsettled her, Woody Allen. In her memoir, Then Again, she wrote that meeting Woody was the luckiest break of my life. He wasn't handsome in the Hollywood sense, but to her, he was irresistible, brilliant, eccentric, and utterly himself. He was my first real love, she confessed, and he changed everything. They dated intensely from 1970, living in that strange intersection between creative obsession and emotional dependence. Woody, private and cerebral, was fascinated by her spontaneity. Diane, who often felt like an outsider, found comfort in his sharp humor and gentle detachment. "He made me laugh more than anyone ever has," she told The Guardian. "Even now, when I think of him, I smile." When their romance faded, their friendship only deepened. They never married, never shared a home, but somehow they built something more enduring, a creative intimacy that would define both of their careers. Annie Hall, released in 1977, wasn't just a film. It was a cinematic love letter between 2 people who understood each other too well. The character, Annie, was her hats, her nervous laugh, even her awkward pauses. "It was our story," she once said, "a love that never quite worked, but never quite ended." Even decades later, when the world turned its back on Woody amid controversy, Diane stood by him quietly. "I love Woody," she told People magazine. "He's one of a kind." To her, Woody Allen wasn't a lost love. He was the beginning of everything that came after. Number 2, Al Pacino. If Woody Allen made Diane laugh, Al Pacino made her ache. Their story began in New York around 1972 to 1973 through mutual friends, when both were young actors fighting to be seen. She had just dazzled audiences in Play It Again, Sam. He was a stage-trained firebrand who had exploded with The Godfather. When they met, Diane later recalled, "I couldn't take my eyes off him. He was beautiful. Not pretty, beautiful." Playing lovers in The Godfather. Part 2 blurred the lines between fiction and real life. On set, Al's silence and intensity pulled her in. Off set, he was restless, unpredictable, a man consumed by his craft. "I fell for him the way a fool falls, completely," she admitted to People. They dated on and off from approximately 1973 through the mid-1980s, through the making of the Godfather trilogy, through nights of waiting by the phone that never rang. "He was always somewhere else," she said, "on a stage, in a role, in his head, but rarely with me." Their relationship was a dance between passion and distance. Diane longed for commitment, Al allergic to it. In interviews, she later confessed that she gave him an ultimatum: marriage or nothing. He chose nothing. I wanted more than he could give, she told The Guardian. He was the love of my life, but he wasn't ready to share his. Yet, there was never bitterness. Decades later, when they reunited for The Godfather Part 3, she looked at him and felt the same rush. He still takes my breath away, she whispered. What lingered between them was not regret, but recognition. Two souls who met too soon, or perhaps exactly when they were meant to. Number 3, Warren Beatty. When Diane Keaton met Warren Beatty, she was already famous. But Warren was Hollywood royalty. It was 1979, on the set of Reds, the ambitious political epic that Beatty directed, produced, and starred in. Diane would later write in her memoir, Then Again, that she was intimidated and mesmerized by him. Warren had a reputation, the notorious heartbreaker, the man every woman in Hollywood seemed to want. But to Diane, he wasn't just a lover. He was a challenge. He wanted to fix me, she said, half amused, half wistful. And for a while, I let him try. Their relationship was a storm of brilliance and tension. Diane once told the New York Times that Beatty was a perfectionist in everything. Work, love, even arguments. She admired his mind, but struggled with his control. Warren had this incredible ability to make you feel like the center of the universe, she recalled, and then, suddenly, like you were orbiting around him. He expected excellence, not just from his cast, but from his partner. And for Diane, who had always danced to her own rhythm, that kind of intensity was both intoxicating and exhausting. During the making of Reds, their love and art became inseparable. She said, "That film was the closest I ever came to living inside someone else's dream. But when the cameras stopped rolling, real life was less forgiving. We were too much alike," she later confessed. Both of us wanted control. When they parted ways, it wasn't with anger, but with quiet understanding. Warren moved on. Diane carried the memory of a man who saw her brilliance, but couldn't live with her independence. "He wanted to make me perfect," she told Vanity Fair, "but I was already myself, flaws and all." Number 4. Jack Nicholson. When Diane Keaton first met Jack Nicholson on the set of Something's Gotta Give in 2003, she didn't expect to find someone who could match her contradictions. Wild, yet gentle. Brilliant, yet broken. Their professional connection ignited there long after the whirlwind of youth had passed. She was in her late 50s, Jack in his 60s, both veterans of Hollywood, both a little weary of love, but still curious enough to try. In interviews, Diane called Jack a tornado of charm. He made her laugh, but more importantly, he made her feel seen. "Jack doesn't pretend," she told The Guardian. "He knows he's flawed, and he owns it." They never officially dated, but their chemistry on and around the screen became the talk of Hollywood. In interviews, she described working with him as electric, like being thrown into a storm you secretly hope never ends. Jack once said in a press interview that Diane wasn't acting, she was just being herself, and that's what made her irresistible. The admiration was mutual. While filming Something's Gotta Give, Diane was going through a quiet loneliness. She'd adopted her children and settled into a life without a partner. Jack, forever the bachelor, understood that solitude better than most. "We'd talk for hours," she recalled, "not about fame or success, but about what's left when all that fades." When the movie ended, their friendship endured. There was affection, flirtation, even a kind of platonic love, but never the permanence either could sustain. "Jack was chaos in human form," she laughed once, "and I was chaos pretending to be calm." In many ways, he represented what Diane admired most, the freedom to live without apology. He didn't save her or fix her, he simply understood her. And for Diane Keaton, that was rarer than love itself. Number 5. Keanu Reeves. When Keanu Reeves entered Diane Keaton's life, it wasn't during her rise to fame, but long after she had already become a legend. They met on the set of Something's Gotta Give in 2003, the same film that featured her with Jack Nicholson. But while Jack represented the familiar chaos of her generation, Keanu brought something entirely different: gentleness. In interviews, Diane described Keanu as one of the kindest men I've ever known. He was in his late 30s then, she in her 50s, a generation apart, yet strangely in sync. Their on-screen flirtation sparked persistent rumors of real-life romance, though both denied it and kept any personal connection private. When asked years later about the rumors on TV shows like The Ellen DeGeneres Show, Diane laughed and blushed, saying something like, "No, but I mean, he's just Keanu." Diane once told The Guardian that what made Keanu special wasn't his looks or fame, but his kindness. He had suffered great loss in his life, the death of his girlfriend and their unborn child, and carried that grief with grace. "He's not like anyone else in Hollywood," she said. "He listens, really listens." For Diane, who had spent her life with men who dominated every room, that quality was disarming. Their on-screen connection was brief, a moment suspended between two eras, but she later admitted that he reminded her of something she had almost forgotten: that tenderness could be as powerful as passion. "He was a light," she said softly in an interview, "a reminder that love doesn't always have to be grand to be real." Keanu didn't become her forever, but he left behind something lasting, a warmth that lingered, quiet and eternal. Number 6. Steve Jobs. Among all the men who drifted through Diane Keaton's life, Steve Jobs was the most unexpected. Their connection wasn't born on a film set or through the tangled vines of Hollywood. It began in the early 1980s through mutual friends in California, and what started as curiosity grew into a quiet, intellectual affection. In interviews, Diane recalled that Steve wasn't like anyone else. He saw the world differently, and he made you want to see it too. They went on a few dates, yes, real ones. She confirmed it in a 2012 Charlie Rose interview, laughing as she recalled, "He picked me up in his Porsche. We had dinner. He didn't say a lot, but when he did, it mattered." What intrigued her most wasn't his fame or fortune, but his intensity. "He had this stillness," she said. "It was like being next to electricity, but quiet." They shared a fascination with design, beauty, and the idea of legacy. Steve talked about the future the way poets talk about love, she told Vanity Fair. He wanted to build something that would last longer than him. Diane, always drawn to visionaries, found herself enchanted by his focus, but she also knew they were worlds apart. "He lived in the future," she said. "I lived in memories." Their connection never turned romantic, but it left a mark. After his death in 2011, Diane spoke tenderly of him. "He made me think about what really matters, not the things we collect, but what we create." In many ways, Steve Jobs wasn't a love lost, but a mirror, reflecting back her own hunger for meaning, for legacy, for something that would endure. Diane Keaton's life is a mosaic of laughter, longing, and lessons learned in love. Each man she has spoken of left a mark, shaping her heart and her art. She has loved deeply, boldly, and on her own terms, never surrendering her independence. Her story reminds us that love isn't always about permanence, but about the moments that teach us who we are. Diane's legacy is not just her films, but her courage to live authentically, to embrace both passion and solitude. As we reflect on her life, we are left to wonder, in our own lives, are we chasing love, or simply chasing the courage to love fully? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's honor a woman who teaches us that both love and independence can coexist beautifully.